Welcome to the Walla Way, Coach Imran Nalawala, and I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Ahmed Mutt Mutawa. He's doing
Sorry, guys.
something. I don't know if he's installing some
Oh,
hardware.
hold on, guys.
He's got that expensive streaming kit over there. So
For real.
so we're gonna go straight into it, guys. Today, as he's fixing up his video. Obviously, the Western and Eastern Conference Finals have started. Eastern Conference Finals started yesterday with Boston going up 1-0 in overtime. And today we're going to have in about 30 minutes a kickoff for the Mavericks and the Timberwolves, which is going to be a very interesting series, which I'm sure Ahmed and myself will get into here shortly. But just so everybody knows, Nuggets were up about 20 or so going into that fourth or some point in the third, and they blew that lead and they lost that series. And they don't have a chance to repeat. And similar, and as you know, we can probably start here, Ahmed. Indiana up, clawed their way back into that game several times, and finally took the lead going into the closing minutes of that fourth quarter. And with less than a minute left, man, with like 30 seconds, 40 seconds left, these guys just see their small lead dwindle. They make about three silly mistakes, three turnovers in a row, rookie mistakes. And Coach Carlisle said it best. He should have just called a timeout, let them kind of get their composure, maybe get fouled on the other line, and just hit the free throws to seal the victory. But two things. Number one, as I said, Boston is a shaky team. You can't trust them, even though they came up. But who you beating ultimately? One star, right? Like one star and a whole bunch of good players. But second, I feel so bad for the Pacers, man. These guys were right there. They clawed back several times, and then they wound up losing the game. What are your thoughts on it?
It was just honestly that whole possession. The whole game really boiled down to that possession. That was just a rookie, like you said, rookie mistake, young team mistake. But that whole play was a mess from the jump. From the jump. First of all, I don't know why you don't have either Tyrese or McConnell inbounding the ball. And second of all, you had a timeout. You could have called timeout. You should have called timeout to advance the ball anyway. But having a player IQ, you should have called timeout. One Mississippi, two Mississippi, three Mississippi, timeout. I don't see anyone timeout. And if you're gonna throw a risky pass, don't throw it to your basket. Throw it down the
Oh my
court.
God, man!
Because they don't have a timeout. They got to go full court to get a bucket. And what was it, like 6 seconds, 7 seconds?
And
They're not gonna get a play in. They're just have to go freestyle. But
and
instead,
yeah, even there, Halliburton. I personally thought he should have gave up the rock. Like he took such a terrible shot. He had a couple seconds to set something up there, but I felt like sometimes you get in the moment, man. You think you're
yeah,
gonna,
yeah. He
I
got
don't know.
rushed by. Are you talking about the one where he dribbled off his leg or the Drew Holiday turnover?
So that was terrible, right? Such a sloppy turnover. But at the end, after Jalen Brown hits the 3 pointer to tie the game, and then Halliburton gets the ball, he goes to the right side of the court
He
by
just
the
freaks
3 point
out.
line. He fades and throws it up. Just give it up, man. Give up the rock. It's tied. You could have got an inside look. You didn't have to shoot a three there.
Because what's his name was trying to set him a screen. I think it was Siakam. Siakam was trying to set him a screen, but he just kept trying to. I guess he's
Yeah.
trying to just get breathing room and then set it up.
And
But
even
that
that
was
Siakam pass that you're referring to earlier, bro. How terrible was that? Like you said, passing it back towards your own basket. But I even felt like, to be honest, I feel like Siakam. I don't know what he was doing either. Like it's almost like he wasn't trying to grab the ball. I don't know. It was a weird possession. I didn't like it.
yeah. It was a mess from the jump. That could have been very easily avoided. That's been as a Mavericks fan. That's been my problem with Carlisle for a long time. Is that he just shows you these great spots, these bright spots, and then when you need him the most, he something happens. I can't even explain what happens. I'm not a big fan of Carlisle.
The Pacers could have been up 1-0, man.
Yeah, and
Just
and a team and then when you're an inferior opponent, you got to still one on the road, and you're an inferior talented team, and you don't have home court. You got to still one. And I feel like this game is either gonna motivate them, like, dang, like we could really beat this team, or it's gonna go the complete opposite, like, damn, like we really played the best we could, and we still lost.
if they could have stole that game, that would have been huge, man. That would have been so huge. Put some more doubt into those Celtics who are doubtful in the first place, and just gave these young Pacers team a confidence boost that they would need, man, to believe like, hey, we deserve to be here. We're not a fluke. We might get a couple other games.
Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be now. It's gonna be a very uphill battle to climb. Now it's gonna be very hard for them.
What did you think about the Nuggets meltdown, if you want to call it that, being up by a significant amount and then losing that game
I
in
don't
the
even
last quarter?
know. I don't even know what happened, to be honest. That was just a crazy cause I'm thinking, I'm like, bro, what happened? Like, how did they lose this game? Because you look at the box. If you just look at the box score, and you didn't watch the game, like, oh, and you don't know the score, and I asked you what do you think the final score was? Oh, Denver probably won by 20. Jokic shot 35, Jamal at 34, and Ant shot 6 for 24. Yeah, they won for sure. But I don't know. They clawed back their defense. They locked up. They locked down. They were getting crucial stops in that second half. They just came back and won. I don't know. It was a crazy game.
Got Rudy Gobert hitting that tough fadeaway shot towards the end of the game. I don't know if you
Yeah,
saw that.
that was the dagger.
Yeah. No, man, it's sad because I think the Nuggets, like someone said, somebody said online, I don't know what happened there. Someone said online that the Spurs are the ones that stopped. Is that you or me?
No. I'm not cooking nothing.
I want to make sure I don't know what's going on. I know there's some inclement weather here. I don't know if it's the weather, but
Oh,
uh,
yeah, that's probably it.
the Spurs stopped the Nuggets from creating a dynasty because they lost the last game of the season to the Spurs, and had they won that game, they would have finished with the first seed in the West rather than finishing with the second seed. So
Yeah,
that would have changed the whole dynamics of who they played. They would have played
Dallas
Dallas
in
in
the
the
second
second
round.
round. Yeah, which would have been interesting. But I think again, sad man. Like you worked so hard, you got the back to back to back MVP, and Joker had a great series. He ultimately, I think he played every minute of that game, or almost every minute of that game. So he didn't get a rest when he probably should have when they were up by that significant amount. So I think some crucial mistakes in that game, and it's gonna haunt them, man. You had a legit shot to imagine they make it to the Western Conference Finals. They're gonna play the Mavericks. Me and you are the bigger Maverick fans out of the two of us, but I like the Mavericks as well. But you get to play the Mavericks. Then if you beat the Mavericks, you get to play the Boston Celtics or the Indiana Pacers. I think I think they would have fared really well and would have had a great chance at repeating.
Yeah. I mean, those first three spots are pretty much interchangeable, to be honest. I mean,
Agreed.
ideally, I mean, hindsight's 2020 now. Ideally, you probably wanted to play OKC in the second round because they're
Mm.
youth and their lack of size, especially for Minnesota and Denver, two huge teams. You would love to play them in the second round, but one be clutched up for the Mavericks, so that didn't end up happening.
So what do you think? We got in about 25 minutes or so. We're gonna have the Mavericks facing off with the Timberwolves. We know Luka's still a little banged up, but at the same time, some of these role players are starting to really develop and come through for the Mavericks. So what do you see happening?
Um, I came to this conclusion this year that I feel like we lose. Okay, let me say what I'm about to say, and then I'll explain it because it's gonna sound like what you sound dumb. I feel like Jason Kidd loses game one on purpose.
Okay.
And you're like, oh, what are you talking about? Every NBA, your objective is to win every game. Yeah, of course. But I'm saying, I feel like Jake Kidd makes himself more vulnerable just to expose weaknesses, strengths, matchups, all the different type of things that go into your game plan. He makes sure he gets exposed that first game so he can adjust much better his second game. So and then it just comes down to like, oh, if we win, great. If we don't, whatever. I'm ready for game two. We're gonna win. So, oh my god. Saying all that, I think we might win this game. Saying all that, something tells me we're gonna win this game.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be an interesting series, man. I think ultimately the performance of Kyrie is going to be very crucial here because we know Luka's banged up, right? And we're going to need some speed and athleticism to counter their speed and athleticism. I think ultimately we're not going to have a answer for Edwards. However, we do have some springy, wiry wings, that can maybe keep up a little bit on the perimeter, funnel him into Lively, and to the other bigs that we have. And our other bigs have been performing quite well. So I think it's going to be a very interesting series. I think we have enough depth at the big man spot to go against Cat and Rudy. But ultimately, and I think that Mike Conley, as much as I love Mike Conley, right? I think what an amazing career, what an amazing point guard.
Yeah.
But if they match him up with Kyrie, depending on if it's him or Edwards guarding Kyrie, it's going to be a long night for him. So it's
That's
gonna be interesting.
yeah. That's what I was saying. I was like, in this league, you can't match offense with defense anymore. You got to match offense with offense.
Mm,
So a player like Ant, you're not gonna be able to stop him on defense. But if you could tire him out when he's playing defense, that's a win.
mm.
So if Ant, I think he's all talk. I don't think he's gonna guard Kyrie. If he guards Kyrie, that opens up everything. Kyrie's Kyrie. He's still gonna get what he wants. He's still gonna get his 20, whatever he's gonna get. We're gonna leave Mike Conley on either PJ Washington or Derrick Jones. Derrick Jones is what 6'7", PJ's like 6'9", Mike Conley's maybe 6'1", 6'2". He's gonna get killed. And if you put Conley on Kyrie, Kyrie's gonna go crazy. So I think that's just a good matchup for the Mavericks.
No, you said if you put Conley on Kyrie, who's gonna go crazy?
Kyrie's gonna go crazy.
Kyrie. I thought you said Conley's gonna go crazy. Yeah,
I don't
I
know,
agree.
Kyrie.
Yeah,
Kyrie's
yeah.
gonna go crazy if he guards him.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And I think everyone knows that McDaniel's gonna guard Luka the whole game.
Oh yeah, and
So-
what a great time for him to guard him because he's banged up. But
Yeah.
for me, here are going to be the answers, man. Gafford, Lively, PJ Washington.
Derrick
Let's
Jones.
see if Josh Green gets any time. Is Tim Hardaway okay or no?
That's what I was just about to say. If Tim Hardaway plays a good game, if he averages 12 points, that's nothing crazy because before the All-Star break he was averaging 20. So that's not asking something that's out of the realm of possibility. If he could average 12 to 14, we're gonna win. Easily. And Jaden Hardy's emerging. If he give us 8 points, that would be cool. Josh Green gives us 8 points. And we just need PJ and Derek to just keep up their crazy streak right now.
I wish Kleba wasn't injured, man.
And my friends know me. I was not the biggest Maxi guy,
Mm-hmm.
but man, he would have helped us so much this series.
It
So-
says, why is it Eurohoops saying that he could potentially return this series? I find that hard to believe.
Maybe game 7, 6.
Yeah, I find that hard to believe. So for me, bro, like we said, Derrick Jones, PJ Washington, Derek Lively, Gafford. Um, these guys are going to have to use their length, their athleticism. Well, the two wing defenders will have to use it against Edwards on the wing. But then if these bigs can contest those shots and make it difficult for him to finish inside, then I think we have a shot. And as you mentioned, right, if Tim Hardaway gets going, man, if he starts cooking a little bit and that shot is hitting, it's going to be an interesting series, right?
Yeah.
But I think on the other side, Conley's going to struggle. It's going to be interesting to see what type of series Gobert has. Even defensively, even in terms of blocking shots and grabbing rebounds, I'm not sure. So I'm excited, man. But I think we're going to learn a lot during this game one. And I don't know if I necessarily agree with the tactic of throwing game one because the stakes are so high. It's the Western Conference Finals. I think you do something like that, for example, and I think of these crazy things myself sometimes where it's like, okay, if you know your guys are banged up, should you throw the first game or two and just give them like an extended rest and then go crazy? But
Yeah.
maybe that's why you and I are not NBA coaches. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Because I said that last. I might have said it to you. I was like, Luka shouldn't be playing. I said sit Luka. Sit 1-2 games. Let him get right because he's being a liability on defense. And he hasn't been dropping 30, 40 for it to make up. It's not evening out. So he needs a little bit of rest. But no, I'm not saying throw the game on purpose. Like, again, I said it. I was like, I feel like he makes situations for him for him to see how to adjust, if that makes sense. That makes sense what I'm saying.
But I think it's better to just find the adjustment in a maximum effort game, right? So just try your game plan, make the adjustments that you have to during the game, at halftime, etc. And if something doesn't work out, then you go back to the drawing board after the game is done, right? And you concoct another plan. But at this time, the stakes are too high, bro. Like, we were talking right before the playoff started, and we were talking about how the Mavericks were starting to cook, right? Towards the end of the regular season. And we also spoke about like how there was potential for them to make it to this spot if everything aligned for them. So stakes are too high to throw games here. And it's going to be interesting, man. It's going to be interesting. If these Wolves make it through to the finals, oh, brother. the Anthony Edwards that we're gonna see even next year because of the confidence that he's gonna have, and a guy who doesn't need any more confidence is gonna be absolutely bananas. But if the Mavericks make it, man, Kyrie Irving gets some of that redemption story arc, right? Because people were considering him a cancer, a malcontent,
Yeah.
poisonous for a locker room. So
Yeah.
Kyrie's stock is back at an all-time high just because of his performance. He's been quiet and just giving people buckets. And then obviously Luka's banged up, but he's still doing the best job that he can. And the Mavericks have really developed as a team around those guys. So I'm just overall I'm excited.
I think for the NBA, the West is in a very ideal spot right now
Mm.
because whoever wins out of the West, I think is winning the finals. Let's get that straight. I think they're beating Boston.
Yeah.
If Boston even gets through Indiana, knowing Boston, they'll lose in 7, knowing Boston, right? So, ideally, for the NBA, Adam Silver, whatever, the media, you get Luka, the next great all-time player. If he wins a championship, the James Harden comparisons are done. The he can't win narrative is done. He doesn't play winning ball is done. And on the other side, your next Michael Jordan is going to win a championship. Small market, going to turn into a big market. Cat gets a lot more respect. Gobert, the Gobert hate has to stop because I've been seeing some crazy things online about Gobert, and I know you have too.
Yep.
Maybe you subscribe to those ideologies, but I don't, me personally. But I mean, even in the East, say Boston wins, Tatum's been on the verge. I heard Shannon Sharp say he's been to the wedding 100 times, but he's not getting married. He hasn't gotten married yet. He's been the bridesmaid, but he hasn't been the bride.
Well,
So he finally breaks through. He becomes face of the NBA.
You know what I feel about the Celtics, man? I feel like just like Shannon Sharp. They've been flirting with becoming like an all-time team of this generation, but for whatever reason they get to that buffer zone, but they never cross over, in my opinion, right? I feel like in terms of the series teams, they've always been of the pretender uh, category, and I'm not saying they're pretenders. I'm saying they're a great team, but if you rank them up against the best teams, like if Philly's healthy, can they get through a healthy Philly? If they play a Nuggets that are healthy, can they get through a Nuggets that are healthy? I don't know. So I'm not a big fan of the Celtics in that stance, and the fact that they almost lost yesterday's game is pretty sad to me, based on how much talent that they have, how much experience that they have. They've made it to an NBA Finals already, and literally you're losing to like a whole bunch of young dudes, right, on the Pacers, who have never really been anywhere, even though they've had a great season. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting, man. I'm very excited for today's game, and no predictions for me, but I'm definitely gonna look for.
Whoa, you gotta give us a prediction.
Man, I don't know, man.
It's tough for me. I have to give one.
I'm gonna say the Mavericks. I'll say Mavericks pull it out today. I think the Mavericks can definitely win the series. And part of me, even though Tatum is a nice guy. I love Drew Holiday. I've even wanted to see Porzingis be successful. I love, of course, our brother Brown, Jalen, right? But there's something about them. I feel like I find myself rooting against them.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like, or not reminds me. I'm saying like it gives me like a feel that it'll be like 10, 15 years down the line, like a little kid's gonna ask me like, man, like how did the 23 Celtics not win? How did the 23 Celtics not win? Like they had a very solid player at every position, and they had a good 6-man. How'd they not win? And my answer is gonna be, I don't know. I don't know. They're weird. You could argue top 7, 8 player, the top 20, the only $300 million player in the NBA. Kristaps Porzingis in my opinion, is the best role player center in the whole NBA. Drew Holiday is the best defending point guard, most underrated player in the NBA. You got Derek White off the bench. So I don't know, man. Again, if they win, it's gonna be. I don't think they're gonna win, but like me understanding why they're not gonna win doesn't make sense because there's nowhere they can go if they don't win. Does that make sense? Like we see like like the Knicks lost. Oh, they need to do this, this, and that. Oh, this team lost this offseason. They need this. They have everything. They're probably just gonna scapegoat Missoula.
Yeah, they definitely will do that. People found that Porzingis and Drew Holiday were going to be the answer, right? because what were you missing? You were missing a real point guard, and now you got a defensive-minded point guard. Porzingis gives you this other scoring threat, and like you said, he was called the unicorn for a while for a reason, right? He's always had the potential, ability to score, etc. You still have Al Horford and these guys, and the fact that even Derek White has increased his value by becoming a better overall player, a great defensive player, and a very capable offensive player. It's just sad that these guys struggle the way they do, man, against mediocre teams. We know that Miami was without Jimmy Butler. We know that they, had some moments against the Cavs where they showed a lack of perfection for the level and skills that they have. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in that series, man. But we're going to less frequent basketball. You and I have talked about this. It's time for us to just enjoy, because we know that in about second week of June there'll probably be no more basketball, right? For some months. So for me, I'm in enjoyment mode right now. But the say again.
But there's gonna be no sports. Everything's done.
I know, man. We're gonna have to watch like YouTube and highlights from YouTube.
Watch some highlights. Yeah.
We got the Cricket World Cup coming here, brother. We're gonna have to watch some cricket, maybe. Oh, you seem excited, bro.
I didn't get into it. I heard it's fun.
Yeah, I don't really watch cricket myself, but it's gonna be bumping over here for sure.
Yeah.
Both the Indian national team and the Pakistani national team, they're gonna be playing here, so people are gonna go crazy, bro. People are gonna go crazy. You'll see. It's gonna.
Didn't their World Cup like rack up the most views in like any sporting event?
Yeah, and it just happened. It just happened recently.
I need to understand the rules though.
The rules, I'll sit down with you one day and I'll explain it to you, brother. It's an interesting sport, but the thing that I did want to mention to you is that they're talking about this new NBA TV contract that might be awarded anywhere, and inside the NBA, TNT might lose their contract. But along with that, I saw that because of the new deal, the maximum contract, if you sign like a supermax, might be $95 million a year. I just read it.
95.
That's what I read.
Dang.
Time to get that limb lengthening surgery, brother.
Do you think relearn how to walk and then go to the NBA?
Yeah, man.
Like, what do you think about like how do you think players is gonna be? You think it's gonna be like no players really gonna accept the max, or is that's where money's trending right now? Like it's just going up and up and up, and eventually in a couple of years, like we said, Jaylen Brown's money is crazy. In 3 or 4 years, that's gonna be an average All-Star contract.
Yeah, no, I mean, if the contract, the TV deal is really gonna be increasing the payouts and the money that the teams and the owners and whatnot make, and if the supermax goes anywhere towards that $90 million mark, there's of course, I mean, look, you'll always find dumb teams out there who are going to be willing to throw money at players just because they want to try to keep them or lure some free agents to their market. But how many of the owners, like our small market teams like San Antonio, Oklahoma, are these guys going to be able to compete and offer those type of contracts? I don't know. I don't know how the distribution of this money works. But just like right now, look at the Suns. We talk about the Suns. You got 3 guys making between 45 and 50, and we see what a problem that's become, because it eats up most of the team salary cap, and then they almost become untradeable. So I also see some potential pitfalls with this new model.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of just something where like you can't really predict it, So it'll be fun when we see it. I wanted to ask you a question.
Go ahead.
Do you think that the structure of NBA teams is going to change?
What do you mean, the structure?
So, like, just go back 2017, 2016. It was the big 3. You got to have 3. You got to get a point. You got to get a wing. You got to get a big. You got to get a wing and 2 threes, or whatever your mix is. You got to get 3 players that are great, right? But this year, you see all these good teams with 1 or 2. You don't see 3 anymore. See Boston, they have 2. Dallas has 2. Indiana has 2. Minnesota really has 2. Lakers, I mean, they didn't do this so good, but the Thunder, they had 2. No one, and everyone that had 3 struggled, like the Suns, And technically the Clippers, if you want to count that as a 3. But I think the structures, I think it will start changing because and you also see the value of role players going up. So if you could pay your two guys, and then instead of paying a third guy 40, you could pay a guy like PJ for 20, and then another, just say Derek White for 15. Instead of paying for one player that might fit, might not fit. But when you get those role players, they're definitely going to fit. What do you think about that?
I think it's an interesting question, man. I think, look, you brought up some good examples. Look at the Suns. The Suns had a supposed big three, but again, we can dissect that. Were they really healthy? Did they have time to mesh? Was it the right makeup of the big three because there was no real point guard on the team? But on the other hand, you have examples like Indiana, right? Indiana's in the Eastern Conference Finals now. Who's their quote unquote big three?
Oh, they got two.
Yeah, who'd you say? Was it Miles Turner and
No, I'll say Siakam and Halliburton.
there we go, Siakam. So again, for me, that wasn't even a clear answer for me, right? I'm like, oh yeah, Siakam. So I think now what you're seeing is you're seeing a lot of. It depends on the makeup of the team. Like even if you look at the Mavericks are in the Western Conference Finals. Look at their big two. They got Kyrie and Luka. Are either of those guys known for playing great defense? No.
No.
But somehow you can hide, and I don't want to say like they don't play defense. I mean, Kyrie's definitely picked up some of the defensive pressure over the last part of the season and playoffs. But yeah, man, it's changed. I think there has been a cultural change and a shift from this big three narrative. I think even when Miami lost that last year against the Spurs, I think when the Golden State Warriors kind of went down with KD and Clay, and even when Kawhi won that championship, you had Kawhi and a whole bunch of role players, but really good role players in the right spots. You had Van Vliet, you had Kyle Lowry, you had an old
Yeah.
Marc Gasol, you had a young Siakam. So who did you say?
I say young Siakam.
Yeah. So it all depends on the type of talent you have. Like for example, LeBron. If you had LeBron in his prime, if you give him the right guys, even if they're not a big three, perhaps in today's era they can win. But when he won in Cleveland, you had him, Kevin Love, and Kyrie, so you had a big three. I don't know, bro. I think that's a great question. I do think that culture is changing, but let's see who winds up winning because if Minnesota wins, we'll say for sure Cat, we'll say Anthony Edwards. But man, then other than them, even if the guys are not superstars, what a hell of a team they have in terms of just complementary players, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'm saying
let's see.
like I remember this summer there was rumors about us trading for Cat, the Mavericks.
Mm.
And now hindsight's 2020. Back in the summer I was like, yeah, get Cat. Well, we have a big three. That's great. But then now looking at it, would I rather have Cat or would I rather have Daniel Gafford, Derek Jones, and PJ Washington?
Great point. Yeah, I mean, those guys have improved so much, and if you can keep them, and I'm going to be honest with you, man, I think in a couple of years, I don't know if you're going to be able to keep all of them
Oh,
because
we're
yeah.
definitely not.
And if you see Gafford, man, Gafford is like bodying people and just dunking it on them. Like that's old school basketball, bro.
Oh
That's
yeah.
old school basketball, giving them a little shoulder bump and just going over them and dunking it.
I love it.
And you see Lively what he did in that closeout game with the rebounding. So some of these clutch free throws towards the end. So it's going to be interesting, man. Like I said, I'm just excited about this series more than anything else. I don't want to overthink it and overanalyze it because how many, depending on how things go, how many more chances do you? There's no guarantee that your team is always going to make it to a conference finals, right?
Yeah.
Especially in a conference like the West where there's so much competition. There's
Mm.
no guarantee. So I think to some extent, brother, I'm just trying to enjoy it, man.
Yeah. Just take it for what it is.
Yeah.
You don't got to compare it to old eras. You just got to
Yeah.
just love what you're in right now.
Just enjoy it, bro. I'm telling you, it's gonna. These times, I tell you all the time about my favorite era in basketball, and that was just yesterday, right? But hey, it wasn't yesterday. That was over 10 years ago, and
Yeah.
I have to remind myself of that a lot, So it's good, man.
Yeah. 100.
All right, bro. We got 3 minutes before supposedly the tip off, so enjoy it. And you said you got the Mavericks tonight.
Yeah.
All
Although
right.
we got to get a serious prediction.
Well, for the game or the series?
Series.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say Mavericks in 7.
As in 7, I got in 6.
And then I'll say on the other side, even though I don't want to say it, I'll say Boston in 6.
Me too. I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, and then we'll see from there. We'll make that prediction after the conference finals.
Hey, I'm getting my hot take out right now to the public. Don't be surprised at the Mavs sweep.
Oh,
Don't
okay. We'll see.
We'll see. It's a long shot.
I don't share your confidence, but we'll see.
All right, coach.
All right, man. Take care,
All
man.
right, take care.
Assalamu alaikum.